Hi, I'm Brett. Today I got a really unique opportunity to show you one of the very early model Subaru Impreza WRXs sold here in Australia. Now you may remember our other video some time ago where we spoke about a similar model which was the first modified WRX in Australia done by us many years ago. Here we are, 2018, and this car is 1995, so you can do the maths and work out how old it is. But this particular car is very original, been looking after it for quite some time for the owner, and he regularly brings it back and gives it a birthday. So we thought it was a good opportunity just to review what these cars look like and why they were so popular back in 1995, when you consider there was nothing else on the market even close other than the 1.8 litre Mitsubishi Lancer, which was then sold in Australia, not the Evo model. So you'll notice the bonnet's vents were actually designed to work but blanked off, and I'll show you the underside. It's got a very low intercooler scoop, but when you lift the bonnet, one of the things that makes this model a lot different is the way the intercooler is. And you'll notice on the SDI versions there was an option for actually having a fifth injector in this part here for the performance and the rally modification, but this one is actually still incredibly original. You see the intercooler is actually at an angle to match the scoop on the bonnet. This one was not sold with an optional water spray. I'm pretty sure the SDI model did, but you'll notice, for example, simple things like the heat shield for the turbo's got what they call the chimney design, and this intake here is actually a mesh which engages inside of the intercooler scoop and is actually fed air off the scoop down in through this duct and around the turbo to cool the turbo when the engine is when the car is driving on the road. And you'll also notice other things that are different is the air intake runs an air mass meter through the original factory airbox here, but it runs around the back of the inlet manifold through a 90-degree bend into the turbo, which in those days made it a pretty difficult car to modify from a turbo intake point of view. Originally they had a different connector between here which was prone to problems. This particular part is something we used to sell hundreds of. It's a replacement powder coated steel pipe that fits the original position, looks original, but these parts last a lot longer. You'll notice the blow-off valve is very small. One thing you do have to be careful is this part, it's already been glued once before. This little fitting off the side here for the vacuum line, the pressure line that actuates the blow-off valve, is very brittle and easy to break. And that part goes down into the stiff plastic pressure hose between the turbo compressor and the inlet to the underside of the intercooler. Now, if you run modified boosts on these cars, these plastic hoses are known to overheat and then burst, and they're not an easy part to replace because these days they're quite difficult to get parts for. You notice something else, the owner has replaced it with one of our very early MRT top header radiator for the radiator tanks. Again, the early model ones were prone to problems because they were a plastic assembly with a stainless steel ring that used to leak. The coolant overflow bottle runs down in the inner garb with a filler here that connects to the radiator. And of course, other small things that you'll notice, no variable cam control on this model because you can tell there's no bulges on the inlet and the exhaust side of the camshafts. And of course, the big thing is you'll notice that this particular model, the big space missing here is no ABS, no active braking system because the airbox goes through in here, and in the later models, this is where they fitted the ABS system. So this particular client has since upgraded the shock absorbers to MCAs because the original ones just frankly just wore out. And you'll also notice a single pump on the windscreen washer on the front, but this car actually come out with an optional rear windscreen wiper, but it doesn't exist anymore. But let's have a go around the back and we'll just see what it looks like at the back, and I'll show you. Interestingly, it had the radio aerial in the back of the guard, but you'll notice at some stage it's probably had the rear glass replaced because this particular model used to have a windscreen wiper on the back, and in here is the filler for the rear washers for the rear windscreen wiper. The rest of the stuff is pretty original, and this one's got a slightly modified exhaust system. This is the early model ECU, which you can't tune the factory ECU. These ones, if I remember rightly, has got a plug-in chip available, but no longer can buy those early model chips from a performance point of view. So let's have a look inside. Pretty similar design up until the 01 model, which was the bug eye. This car came with the Nardi leather steering wheel. Doesn't have an airbag. In fact, this model doesn't have SRS airbags at all. It's got fold back mirrors, factory standard. It's got the optional fog lights in the front. 5-speed transmission, which is pretty standard across the range up until the early models before they changed this chassis type to the later model. But everything else interior wise here is something that if you've been looking around at these models, it's pretty common from the, I think, early 1993 right up to the later models on the GC8s when they started changing the interior on the 97, the 98, and then of course the 99 model. So there you have it. If you're wanting to know what one of the original cars looked like without it being too modified, and this car has done 250,000 Ks. Client still drives it and uses it on a regular basis. It's pretty reliable, he looks after it properly, and it's a fun car to drive even in its relatively standard form. So of course, if you want some more information about what you can actually do to this car, you can contact us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter and Instagram. But of course, they're just a fantastic old school car, great value for money if you can find one in good condition. Check out our other website at mrtperformance.com.au for technical information and downloads, but of course the performance tuning side of our website, mrttuned.com.au. But from myself here in Sydney, my name is Brett Middleton. Thanks for watching.